Welcome to Shatter.
Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories. You want romance? Subscribe to my mood. That's what she said. Smirk on her face. Wine in hand. Not even looking at me. Like the conversation didn't matter. Like I didn't matter. I didn't react. I just looked at her, really looked, and realized something. This wasn't a relationship. It was a billing cycle. Every day, I paid for something that barely existed anymore. Love? Optional. Respect? Conditional. Intimacy? On backorder until further notice. And she made it clear, my value in this marriage was transactional, not emotional. She'd give affection when she felt like it. But the expectations never stopped. I was still expected to show up, pay up, shut up. That night, I didn't argue. I didn't push back. I went quiet. And she didn't even notice. She just kept scrolling through her phone, half laughing at something on her feed. That was the moment I made the decision. Not with anger, not with sadness. With clarity. I wasn't going to fight for space in a life I was already financing alone. I was going to cancel my subscription. No warning. No speech. No closure. But before I did, I needed to understand how deep the rot went. So I started watching. Not her. Us. How we moved. How we spoke. How she smiled at everyone but me. How I'd become a placeholder. A warm body filling the husband role on her Instagram grid. I noticed the details. The phone flipped face down every time it buzzed. The sudden new passwords. The missed calls from unknown numbers. The quiet text exchanges that stopped when I walked in the room. And every time I saw it, every time I logged another red flag, she gave me that same rehearsed line, "You're imagining things." No, I wasn't imagining it. I was documenting it. I started taking notes. Quietly. Strategically. I wasn't building a case to confront her. I was building a clean exit plan. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. I wasn't going to argue about whether I was exciting or romantic enough. I wasn't going to prove my worth to someone who treated marriage like a monthly service she could pause or cancel at will. Except when it came to the benefits. That week, she forgot our anniversary. Not a card. Not a word. But she remembered to remind me the mortgage was due. She smiled when I Zelled her the payment. That was the last one she'd get from me. She just didn't know it yet. Because when someone turns love into a subscription, they forget what happens when the user cancels. Not with rage. With silence. And when the silence started, she didn't even hear it coming. The first real crack didn't come from her. It came from someone I barely knew. Derek, a friend of a friend. We'd met maybe twice. Mutual gatherings, nothing personal. He worked in tech, same as me. Smart guy. Quiet. That Saturday, we crossed paths at a housewarming party. I wasn't planning to stay long. Just enough time to be polite, grab a drink, and bounce. But Derek pulled me aside. Not in a dramatic way. Just casual. He asked if everything was okay at home. I told him things were fine. Then he gave me this look. Not pity, not curiosity. Just something between concern and confirmation. He said, "I saw something on Lexi's Instagram the other night. You cool with that?" I didn't ask what he meant. I just raised my eyebrow. He took out his phone, opened a story archive, and showed me a clip, barely 3 seconds long. Lexi in a bar, laughing, music loud, a man's voice saying, "You always do that when you drink." Then her voice, flirty. "Well, maybe you should stop watching me." The guy wasn't me. I kept my face still. Derek backtracked fast. Said he didn't mean to stir anything. Probably nothing. Just looked weird. I thanked him and changed the subject. But inside, I wasn't angry. I was steady. Because that was the final confirmation I needed. Lexi had stopped seeing me a long time ago. I was the bank account, the backup plan, the subscription she forgot to cancel when she stopped using it. And that man in the video? He was proof she thought the subscription came with no consequences. When I got home that night, I said nothing. She was on the couch, half watching a show, scrolling her phone. She smiled when I walked in. Said, "Hey, babe," like she'd just remembered I lived there. I smiled back. Nodded. And I made a decision right then. No confrontations, no fights, no raised voices. I was done giving her anything to react to. She wasn't going to see a man unravel. She was going to feel him vanish. I started sleeping in the guest room. Said I needed better back support. She joked about it, once. Then never brought it up again. She didn't ask where I went at night, or why I stopped texting during the day. because she didn't believe I'd ever walk away. That's the mistake people make when they turn relationships into routines. They forget. Even a quiet man keeps score. And when he stops talking, he's not giving up. He's planning his exit. After that party, I stopped guessing. I started tracking. Not because I wanted a confrontation, but because I wanted confirmation. Clean, quiet, undeniable truth. It's amazing what people reveal when they think you're too passive to look. Lexi had always been careless with patterns. Same bar, same nights, same outfits she never wore around me. So I started small. Checked our shared phone plan's location log. She hadn't been where she said she was, not once in the past month. I looked through credit card statements. $86 at a rooftop bar we'd never been to together. A second charge the same night for 2 Ubers, opposite directions. That wasn't dinner with coworkers. That was a date and an escape route. Still, I said nothing. I watched her rehearse normalcy every night. She kissed my cheek, asked about work, and retreated to her phone. I smiled back. Because every moment she relaxed, I got stronger. I moved my savings to a separate account. Quietly canceled the secondary cards she still hadn't noticed I gave her access to. I took photos of documents, backed up files, gathered screenshots, not to destroy her, to disappear with precision. Meanwhile, she grew bolder. She started staying out late on Thursdays, said it was book club, which was strange because I never once saw a book. One night, I watched her walk out in heels she hadn't worn since our engagement dinner. Perfume I hadn't smelled in years. I didn't stop her. Instead, I drove 10 minutes behind her, parked across the street, watched her laugh with a man in a blazer too tight for someone that confident. She wasn't hiding it anymore. She didn't have to, because in her mind, I was still paying, still subscribed, still too soft to leave. But every move she made now wasn't a betrayal. It was permission. I started packing slowly, one drawer at a time, only the essentials. Kept the boxes in my office closet, behind the old printer she never touched. I set a date in my mind. 3 weeks. 3 weeks to make the cleanest exit possible. 3 weeks to prepare a silence she wouldn't hear coming. People think power is in confrontation, in slamming doors, in shouting, "I know what you did." But real power? It's walking away with everything in order while they still think they have control. And that's what Lexi never understood. She thought she was playing the game. She didn't realize the rules had already changed, and I was already 10 moves ahead. It happened on a Tuesday, not a Friday, not a holiday, not a day you'd expect someone to vanish. Just a normal morning. Lexi had left for work in a rush, overslept, spilled coffee, didn't say goodbye. Perfect. I didn't go to work that day, because I wasn't coming back. By noon, the movers had come and gone. My essentials, documents, clothes, laptop, keepsakes, boxed and transported to a storage unit under my name only. I changed the locks on the apartment door, even though I was leaving. Not to keep her out, but to make sure she realized I had been in full control the whole time. Then I wiped the shared devices. Factory reset. Signed out of every cloud, every calendar, every shared platform. She wouldn't even see my footprints. At 3 p.m., I turned off my phone. Permanently. New number. New plan. No forwarding. No warning. By 4 o'clock, I had checked into a short-term apartment across town. Temporary. Quiet. Mine. At 4:17 p.m., the first message came through on my laptop. Email. "Hey, did you forget your charger? You left your watch too." She still thought I was coming back. I didn't answer. By 6:30 p.m., the tone changed. "Where are you? Call me. What's going on?" By 8:45 p.m., I'd been called 6 times. Texted 11. Emailed twice more. I didn't block her. Not yet. I wanted her to feel the drift. The slow, brutal realization that I wasn't just gone. I had chosen to go, and I was never coming back to explain it. The next day, I closed our joint accounts. Split what was legally mine. Sent the legal separation papers through my attorney. Quiet. Clinical. Clean. No emotion. Just execution. Friends started texting me too. Most of them hadn't seen me in weeks anyway. I'd been slowly detaching for months. Ghosting wasn't hard when the connection had already flatlined. But Lexi? She panicked. Started calling friends. Family. Co-workers. Told one of them I was missing. She even drove to my office. Security told her I'd turned in my badge and cleared my desk the week before. She called my sister. My sister didn't answer. Because she knew. Everyone who mattered knew. Everyone else didn't need to. That's the beauty of disappearing with purpose. You don't make a sound, but the silence echoes. And now, Lexi was trapped in that silence. Alone. Confused. Still believing that love was a subscription she could renew when she felt like it. Too late. My plan wasn't revenge. It was release. And I had just canceled her access. Without warning. Without refund. Without ever needing to say goodbye. The man from the rooftop bar wasn't a mystery for long. 2 weeks after I disappeared, his name landed in my inbox. Not by accident. I had a burner email account tied to a social listening tool. Basic automation. It scraped mentions, tags, photos tied to Lexi's name. Mostly, it pulled nonsense. Until one post, geotagged at a wine lounge downtown. Captioned with a casual, "Guess who's back in town?" The man's name was Ryan. I didn't click his profile. I went deeper. I ran his name through a few databases I still had access to from a side project I consulted on years ago. Nothing illegal, just resourceful. It took about 30 minutes to find the cracks. Ryan worked in medical sales. High commission, low ethics. Multiple complaints filed against him in 2 states. Falsified invoices. Phantom appointments. One internal audit, pending. He wasn't just sloppy with women. He was sloppy everywhere. And Lexi? She was tied to him now. Not just emotionally. Publicly. The digital footprint was growing. Shared drinks, inside jokes and captions, her liking all his posts. Too visible. Too fast. Perfect. I forwarded Ryan's name, anonymously, to a regulatory contact I'd worked with years ago. Attached a detailed summary. Dates. Screenshots. Evidence. No opinion. Just facts. I didn't have to lie. I just gave the truth some structure. I wasn't trying to ruin his life. I just wanted the illusion to collapse from its own weight. Within a week, his company pulled his profile from their site. A friend in that circle messaged me. He'd been suspended pending review. Lexi didn't post anything for 3 days. Then she uploaded a selfie, alone, captioned, "Lessons learned." I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. Because this wasn't about revenge. This was about momentum. She had traded stability for excitement. And now excitement had left her name flagged in an HR department. Lexi still didn't know where I was. But now she knew what it felt like to lose something quietly. She thought she had options. Now, one of them was under investigation. I wasn't done yet. But I didn't need another target. She was unraveling on her own. And all I had to do was stay gone. Stay silent. Because when you remove yourself from someone's life, the chaos they built doesn't stop. It just keeps spinning, louder, messier, until it collapses. And they're left standing in the center of the storm they created. Alone. Looking for someone to blame. But I wasn't there. I never would be again. Social collapse is quieter than people think. It doesn't come with screaming. It comes with silence. Silence in group chats. Silence at brunch. Silence when your name comes up and no one rushes to defend you. That's what started happening to Lexi. I wasn't there to see it. But word travels, especially when people stop pretending. Her coworkers noticed first. She came in late 3 days in a row. Makeup half done. Same outfit twice. Someone cracked a joke about long nights in the break room. No one laughed. Then came the charity event. The one we used to attend together. This year, she arrived alone. When people asked where I was, she said we were taking space. No one questioned her. But a friend of mine was there. He told me. She looked like someone waiting for an explanation that wasn't coming. It wasn't. Because explanations are for people who've earned them. She hadn't. Her parents reached out to me once. Polite. Reserved. Said they'd noticed some distance and hoped everything was okay. I didn't reply. They didn't follow up. Because deep down, they knew. They always did. They saw how she spoke to me when she didn't think anyone was listening. They just didn't expect the man she belittled to be the one who vanished first. Her friends started posting group photos without tagging her. Her circle shrank. The same women who used to cheer her on in comments now kept their distance. No accusations. No lectures. Just absence. That's how it always starts. Not with confrontation, but with quiet disassociation. Lexi tried to shift the narrative. Posted a cryptic quote about self-growth and removing toxic people. But everyone knew who'd been removed. And it wasn't her idea. A week later, someone from her office told a mutual friend, "She's different now." like she's waiting for someone to walk back through the door. But I wasn't coming back. I was done playing background music in her highlight reel. And now, without me, the silence around her was starting to scream. She hadn't been exposed. She'd just been seen. Not by me, by everyone else. People don't need proof to understand energy. And her energy? It was panic masked as confidence. Loneliness dressed up as independence. She thought she could control the narrative. But the story had already been written. And the ending would come with no applause, no sympathy, just recognition that the man she once took for granted had walked away so cleanly that even the people closest to her started to question if he'd ever really been hers. The hardest part of being left isn't the silence. It's the moment you realize no one is coming back to fill it. That's where Lexi was now. Not angry, not outraged, just alone. She tried to rebuild routines, I heard. Joined a yoga studio. Posted a meal prep reel. Wrote a caption about turning the page. But there's no audience for a comeback when no one believes you ever fell. The silence was louder now. She started texting people she hadn't spoken to in years. Old classmates. Co-workers she used to ignore. Even my friends. Most didn't respond. Some did, politely. Short answers. No emotion. And every cold reply told her the same thing. She'd burned the bridges long before she realized she needed them. Meanwhile, I moved through the city like I didn't exist. New number. New name on the lease. New routine. I wasn't hiding. I just stopped being available. Once, I saw her across the street. She was walking fast, like she was late, or trying to outrun something. She didn't see me, but I watched her stop at a red light, check her phone, frown. She looked thinner, tired. Her shoulders slumped a little lower than before. She was still wearing the confidence, but now it looked like a borrowed coat. Expensive, but too big for her frame. I didn't speak, didn't move. Just watched her cross and disappear into the crowd. She didn't know I was there. She didn't know I'd ever been that close again. And that's what made it perfect. Because nothing stings more than realizing the person you thought you could manipulate still walks among you, but doesn't acknowledge your existence anymore. I heard from someone that she tried therapy. Good. I hope she finds answers. But I won't be one of them. Her emails stopped, then started again. Now they were long, thoughtful, emotional. No apologies. Just memories. Old stories. Photos attached. She wasn't reaching out to explain. She was reaching out to remember who she was when she still had someone who cared. But the thing about silence is, it doesn't negotiate. It doesn't ask for closure. It just becomes your new reality. Lexi had turned our marriage into a platform she could step off and on whenever she pleased. She didn't notice when the foundation cracked. Now, she was trying to stand on what was already gone. And all I did was step back far enough to let gravity handle the rest. I always knew the confrontation would come. Not with drama. Not with a scene. Just a slow walk into the wreckage. Hoping someone was still there to explain it all. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. I was grabbing coffee at a spot we used to go to. Not because I wanted nostalgia, just because it was convenient, quiet. I hadn't seen her in over a month. Then she walked in. Same walk. Same tilted head. Like the world still owed her soft landings. She didn't see me at first. But when she did, she froze. Half a second of hesitation. Then she walked over. No hello. Just, can we talk? I nodded once. Not as an invitation. Just acknowledgement. We stepped outside. Stood near a brick wall in the shade. She looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I'd just grown taller in my absence. She started slow. No tears. Just her voice. Calm. Rehearsed. She said she'd been confused. Said she'd made mistakes. Said I left so fast, she couldn't process it. I didn't say a word. Because nothing she said required an answer. She searched my face for emotion. Didn't find any. That was the first shift. She stopped explaining and started reaching. Tried to laugh about old memories. Mentioned a trip we never took. Talked about how nobody really understands what we had. I let her talk. Let her circle the space between us. She wanted closure. She wanted a reaction. She wanted something. Anything. That meant I still lived in the story she was trying to rewrite. But I wasn't a character in her narrative anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I was finished. She finally asked the question she came for. Is there anything left? That was the moment. The last flicker of control she thought she had. I looked at her, steady, quiet. And I said, there was. You spent it. Then I stepped past her. No raised voice. No final line. Just distance. She didn't follow. She stood still, arms folded, watching me walk away for the last time. And this time, she knew I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't disappearing in anger. I wasn't making a statement. I was simply done. There's a power in leaving calmly. In letting someone realize that the most painful goodbye isn't the one filled with noise. It's the one where the other person doesn't need to say goodbye at all. They just stop being yours. And you feel it long after they're gone. When the foundation cracks, it doesn't crumble all at once. It buckles, quietly. Then it breaks. Lexi tried to hold it together after our last conversation. I know because someone from her office sent me a message, short, unexpected. You did the right thing. I didn't reply, but the message told me everything. She wasn't just unraveling. She was doing it publicly. Deadlines missed. Meetings skipped. One day she showed up to work in sweatpants. Another day she didn't show up at all. There were whispers now. About her mental state. About how quickly things changed. No one said the word breakdown. But they didn't have to. She'd spent years performing perfection. Every hair in place. Every smile calibrated. Now, the mask had slipped, and no one was reaching to fix it for her. That's what happens when the room goes cold. People don't save you. They just stop pretending you don't need saving. I wasn't watching directly, but I didn't have to. I saw it in the silence of mutual connections. The way she stopped posting. The way her friends posted without her. Then came the final shift. She moved out of the apartment. Someone else lives there now. I know because the leasing records updated, and I checked. Once. Not out of curiosity. Out of closure. I had new furniture. New city routines. I'd gone back to the gym. Taken on side projects I'd shelved for years. Reconnected with people I'd neglected when I was too busy being her emotional foundation. And I wasn't healing. I was rebuilding. Not from pain, but from clarity. People talk about finding themselves. I didn't find anything. I removed what didn't belong. Lexi used to be the loudest part of my life. Now she didn't echo at all. She'd reached the edge of her control and discovered there was no one left to pull her back. But that wasn't my responsibility anymore. She lost me long before she realized. And the version of me she once knew? He was never coming back. Because that version tolerated lies. Smiled through dismissals. Stayed silent to keep the peace. But peace built on silence always collapses. Now, she stood in the ruins. And I walked past them like they never belonged to me. Not out of cruelty, but because I had nothing left to prove. Her collapse wasn't mine to witness. It was hers to live with, and mine to leave behind, completely. The strange thing about endings is they rarely come with a closing scene. No big music. No dramatic speech. Just a moment, so quiet, you almost miss it. For me, that moment came 6 months after I left. I was walking through a park I'd never been to before. New part of town. Fresh air. No memories lingering in the corners. My phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I didn't answer. 10 seconds later, a voicemail. I didn't check it. Not then. I waited until I got home, sat down, and played it once. It was Lexi. Her voice was soft, almost cautious. Like she wasn't sure if she wanted to be heard. She said she'd been thinking. That she understood now. That maybe we could have a real conversation. She said she missed the version of me that used to be there. That used to try. There was a pause. And then the line everyone eventually uses when they know it's too late. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here. I deleted the message. Not out of bitterness, but because I knew I'd already had my last conversation with her. It wasn't at the cafe. It wasn't in a voicemail. It was the moment I chose myself without asking for permission. That was the goodbye. She just didn't hear it when it happened. People think power is loud. But real power? It's silent. It's walking away with nothing in your hands, and still knowing you didn't lose anything. It's choosing peace without performance. It's leaving a space so clean that even your shadow doesn't remain. I never blocked her. Never replied. Because the greatest response is absence. Not anger. Not explanation. Just gone. The kind of gone that doesn't echo. That doesn't leave a door half open. The kind of gone that teaches someone what silence really feels like. Not the absence of sound. The presence of clarity. Lexi once told me she loved how available I was. I don't think she realized what that actually meant. Availability is a choice. So is disappearance. And now, I choose not to exist where I'm not valued. That's not cruelty. That's freedom. So if she ever asks someone what happened to me, they won't say I vanished. They'll say, he just stopped showing up where he wasn't respected. And that's how you end a story with no door left to knock on. Just quiet. And a man walking forward. Alone. But finally whole. Been through it. When they crossed the line. And you made sure they felt it.